Awesome. Well, welcome to the last board meeting of the 2020-21 school year. We did it, y'all. We made it through a whole school year during a pandemic. Lots of fun was had, lots of pivoting was had by all of you. So thank you for that. We don't have any public comments that I saw when I checked like an hour ago. And so I just want to open up the floor for gratitude and appreciation. Anyone wants to go or has anything to say?
I want to shout out to Kristen for her t-shirts. I thought they were awesome and really cute, and we pulled it together at the end. So thanks for your hard work with that, and for everybody, you know, encouraging the sales of those and whatnot. But Kristen, you did a good job with those. So thank you.
Thank you, Kristen, for taking that on. I know I've seen kids at carpool wearing the short shirts, and so it's great that like everyone has one.
Yeah, I think it really worked out. I still have more, so if anybody wants one, they're sitting here in my dining room, and I'm happy to give them to you really cheap.
I want to follow up on that. The kids were so excited to get a t-shirt, and they have all been just so cute wearing them. And also just don't want to be remiss in thanking Bria for taking on being PTA president in a pandemic. So I just appreciate your because I have teachers from a teacher perspective we could have made it all work without your support. So we're all very appreciative.
Thank you. I wanted to go down the list of people who are leaving the board and thank you all. So first is Teddy. You have been an awesome treasurer, and I work with you at least weekly, if not sometimes daily, depending on the season. And so just thank you for your support and for stepping into this role. You do so much with numbers that even with my background, I don't understand what you do. So thank you.
Thank you, Bria. It's been a pleasure working with you. I appreciate that.
Joanna, you've been on the PTA for forever. It seems like I know longer than I know, and just been involved in so much and been so supportive of the African-American families at Watts. And so I just want to thank you as you move on to bigger and better things. Bob is not here. Is Rachel here?
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. I've got a crying and a bloody toe in the background. But thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you, Bria. Really. Jumping right in there.
Rachel, you've done so much with family involvement. You kind of got thrown for a loop this year with having to do more because there was less families at the school and more teacher support and appreciation events that you put together so well, especially the first semester when no one was really on campus. And then with teacher appreciation and everything that you did. And I just wanted to say thank you for all that you've worked with and all that you continue to even now plan for the next school year.
Thanks, Bria. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your leadership.
Yeah. Kristen, thank you for, I know when I came into the school, you were doing fundraising. I think I met you for the first time actually before my kid even got to school, because we went to the carnival that that was going on in the summer of 2019 or the spring of 2019. And so you've been super dedicated to Watts, and I'm excited to see what you do as you step off the board, but I know you'll be around and always a constant help for Watts. So thank you.
Thank you, Bria. And you've done such a great job. It's been great having you lead us. And don't worry, I'll still be around.
We'll see you. Glad my kids are very fond of Hazel, so they're excited. And I don't know if anyone else has officially said that they were 100% leaving. But if you are, I appreciate you. I know there are some tough decisions some people are making in the coming weeks on if they're going to stay or leave, but I just appreciate all the support this year. I could not have done it without you. There was so much going on this year and you all stepped up big time. So I just want to thank all of you for that. And for those not leaving the board, thank you for sticking with it. I know we've had it's a big turnaround year. So I commend anyone who's saying, I'm going to do this one more year or 2 or 3. So thank you all. If there's nothing else on that front, we are going to move to approval of May board meetings. I sent them out, the May board meeting minutes. I sent them out. You've had a chance to look over them. Is there any changes that need to be made? All right, with no changes, then we'll just approve them by consent at 5:54. And then next up is Teddy for your financial report.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bria. Let me share my screen as usual. And I will start as usual with the balance sheet. And this shows our assets versus our liabilities. And currently, at this point, we have nearly $56,000 or over $56,000, and almost all of our money resides in a Bank of America account. Sometimes it does reside in PayPal, but I transfer that over every month. So currently we're at 56,000. At this point, we have no liabilities. So this is how it is distributed amongst our general funds. We have nearly $24,000 in our general fund. And I know I've covered this before, but this is where most of our activity takes place. Money coming in, money coming out goes into this general fund. We still have the folks on the grounds committee sometimes spend from the Leo fund. This is not being added to, so we still have nearly or over $4,000 in that. We pay for things, and also we fundraise with the Scholastic, which we did. We did not have the fundraiser this year, but money coming in, money going out to pay for books and other things from the media center are in this fund. And this is our reserve balance. At this point, it's at $27,000. So this is sort of our rainy day fund. It's recommended that you keep anywhere from half to a full year's expenditure in there. At this year, so far we've spent about $50,000. So we're sort of right about where we want to be. We can always consider if we want to add to it going forward next year. And I always share, let me stop sharing my screen for a second. And I always share the income statement, and that shows money coming out, money going in, money going out for the year. But I will just first show what we've done for May. I should have done this way before. Normally I show year to date, but I will just show, hang on one second. Let me share my screen again. This is just activity for this past month, just so you can see what's gone on this past month. So there was still some money coming in through the annual fund, both through things coming in on PayPal, and also one of the nice benefits of the t-shirt sale that it was hosted on Member Hub is that some people made donations. So between what was coming into PayPal and what was coming in through donations associated with the t-shirt sale, this month we got about $1,700 coming into our annual fund. This month we had nearly $1,000 worth of t-shirt sales. We also had some last month. So the total for t-shirt sales was a little bit over $1,500 if you look at last month and this month. So those were our big income generators for the month of May. Money going out this month, we had some of the family involvement line was spent, and this was primarily on Teacher Appreciation Week. T-shirt sales, that came to nearly $3,700, so we paid for it this month. And some of the other big items is a lot of teachers are now submitting their reimbursements. The PTA gives every classroom teacher $200 to spend on materials and supplies. So this was probably our biggest month. If there are people out there who still haven't submitted their reimbursement, please do it as soon as possible. Everybody's allotted $200. We finally got, I think this is the first time We spent money on the Special Projects New Initiatives Fund, so we spent around 3,600 on that. AIG line was hit. We spent the money for the Battle of the Books. We still did a little bit of pandemic spending, and just the other big expense, which wasn't too big, is we do have liability insurance for the board to protect ourselves. So that was the other big expense. So this is just activity for the month, but I can show you what it looks like for the year. 1 second. Let me share again. And this is, oh, there we go. And this is how you can see the performance over the year against the budget. And this is posted. This is posted to the to our drive folder. So you can look at any of the months. I have all this information for that. But just to go down all the way at the bottom, if you look at money coming in versus money coming out, so far we're around $10,000 in the hole. But we also, as I've mentioned before, we built this budget with over $31,000 from last year. So we still have a significant amount of the budget left. So of course, this will be up to the board next year to decide how they want to do it, but they will start with a surplus and, somewhere, I'm not sure how many more expenses we're going to get in, but maybe around, yeah, I'm not sure at this point how much will be there, but it'll be a significant amount of money to start the new year. And that's all I have for today.
Hey, Teddy, can you scroll up? Sorry, never
Oh,
mind.
sure. Sorry. No, go. I'm sorry.
I was trying to see how much, because I know Grounds still has money to spend, and I know we still have some end of the year purchases that are going to end up end of the year celebration things. I was just trying to get like an accurate picture. Like I know now if we were to end the year, the next year's board would have $24,000, but I know that there are expenses that still like are going to hit by the end of June. So I was just trying to get like a more accurate picture for next year's board as they begin to plan the budget.
I should also mention this is, I still cannot, we use a system called Aplos for budgeting, and it's a little bit bizarre. I cannot figure out how to separate expense. This should only be for the general fund expenses, but we have to record things like Leo fund and gosh, I forgot what the other, there are a couple that are paid against or are shown in here, but really don't count against expenses. So when you look at this $10,000, it's really more, it's a higher, I mean, it's less, we're less of the whole, but I'm sorry, that's getting to your question. Is there any one particular one you want to look at?
I was just saying, I know Grounds and I know end of the year. I just want to see where those we're at right now.
Sure.
Okay, end of the year at 56, and I know we have at least like $400 to $500 more coming out of that fund. And then Grounds will use up all of their budget, so another $2,000, $2,500. Yeah, around another $2,500 from Grounds. So probably about another $3,000 left. So I think that leaves about $21,000 will be rolled over next year.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Just as I'm talking to Jamie, and we're all same page.
So once again, I will make that plug, and I know Grounds is expecting to submit some expenses. They gave me the heads up, so thank you, Sarah, for doing that. But if you know you're going to spend money and you can't do it, I mean, if you know things are reimbursements are coming in, please sort of let me know. Or if you have outstanding reimbursements, please get them in as soon as possible. That way, the sooner we get everything off the books and we can roll over into the new year, that will just benefit the new board. They will have accurate numbers earlier rather than later, and they can start budget planning sooner rather than later. So if you have anything outstanding, please get it into me. Or if you think for some reason it will take some time, later in June, just please let me know. Once again, it will benefit next year's board if we can get this done sooner rather than later.
Thank you, Teddy.
Sure.
Okay, next up, we have the fundraising report or update for Kristen and Megan.
Hey, I'll talk briefly about the t-shirt fundraiser. Project, not really fundraiser, but yeah, thank you for all your help with it, everybody. I think it was a great success. As you just saw Teddy go through it, we spent somewhere around $3,700 and then made in purchases and donations, I think somewhere around like 2,100. So I thought that was great. It was more than half of what we needed. And everybody seemed really pumped about it. It felt like a good kind of end of the year, spirit building event. So I do have leftovers. I was serious. And so I am going to have them at the 5th grade graduation and just ask for donations if people want to buy extras or anything like that. So we might have a couple more bucks coming in, but probably not. But anyway, that's the update on t-shirts. I think I'm going to leave it to Megan to talk about the needs assessment.
Hey guys, I sent out the link to the needs assessment. And if you haven't got a chance to look at it, that's okay. I was wanting to send it out to the teachers sooner than later. I was hoping to have it out at the beginning of this week, but the holiday got me behind. But anyways, so we're wanting to send the needs assessment out to not really replace any sort of budgeting process that the PTA will have. It's really just to get an idea of what teachers and parents want to see so we can plan over the summer. And so, I'm speaking only for myself when I say like over this past year fundraising, we did a lot of fundraising, we put a lot of work into it. And sometimes I just wondered if every parent was on board with all the things that we were raising funds for, and teachers too. And so I just thought it would be great to have every opportunity where parents and teachers could see our budget and what we spend our money on. And I do feel like it could raise some buy-in, if teachers are seeing that we're raising this money for, the grounds and for all the subscriptions and things, it could really raise more money. So I definitely am not trying to send this out to take away from any funding that anybody wants to do. So if you get a chance to look at it, that would be great. Send me your feedback if we want to talk about it for a couple minutes here. If anybody has any glaring concerns or comments, or Amanda and maybe another teacher, excuse me, did provide a little bit of insight on just shortening it a little bit, condensing some of the language, and I certainly will do that, but I haven't had any negative feedback, but I would love to hear if anybody has concerns or anything. I'm here. Like I said, I'm trying to send it out to teachers as soon as I can. That'll probably be tomorrow night, maybe Thursday morning. So, and then we will get it translated and sent out to parents as soon as we can get the feedback from the teachers and have the board look at that, and then send it out to parents later on during the summer, early beginning of next year. But that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. If anyone has anything to add, I will echo Amanda's sentiments that if we're going to send out the parents, it needs to be translated so in the Google form. And other than that, I think we're good. Next up, we're going to talk about two things that are coming up. The summer play dates, which do we want to reinstate them? Because we didn't do any of them last year. And also wanted to put this on you all's radar that the DPS board is having essentially an equity meeting about districting. around DPS schools and the equity involved there, and that they're going to have a big meeting on June 17th where they will make recommendations, whatever that be. But I know when talking to at our PAC meeting, we did discuss this, and there are a couple of things floating around: getting rid of the walk zone and sibling preference, potentially getting rid of Montessori at George Watts. And so that's one of the things that maybe parents should or advocate for. We should, like, in terms of like, they will take public comments. Like you can email them. It was I know, like, we've talked about getting rid of the walk zone for equity. That was something that we were discussed in 2019, 2020 school year. That was something that was kind of discussed with the whole November equity symposium or forum that happened, feels like forever ago. But I do know that like Watts parents might have some concerns if they talk about getting rid of the magnet program altogether at Watts, and just making it a community school, which is what was being talked about. So just like leaving it like a neighborhood school, but then removing the magnet, since right now the magnet isn't serving the county as a whole. So that's just, I wanted to put that out there to the board, because I don't think parents know that information, and you all can share it with your parents. It was something that literally just came up at our PAC meeting, because we had a board member visit our PAC meeting and share some information, but I thought that would be good to know so that parents can voice any opinion they have on that.
Bria, you said that
There was an email from, oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, William Sutter, I don't have his last name, I forget. There's an email that he sent out about signing up. So you need to, there are going to actually be 3 meetings. One is virtual and 2 in person. And you need to register though. Everybody is welcome. They just want to know. So I sent it to virtual because that's just what my life is right now. But so check email from William. And I guess forward or whatever. And so you guys can join.
Yeah, I think there are a couple equity meetings happening, but then there's also like the board meeting retreat, which is what the June 17th date is, and they're going to have public comments there. Which I think
yes.
Or you can submit a public comment beforehand online. But yeah, that seemed like pertinent information for the Watts PTA, because we are technically an advocacy committee to advocate for families and students and teachers and to send out. Thanks, Megan, for sending that out. Yes, so besides that, summer play dates. I don't know, Rachel, if you wanted handle this. Yeah.
Sure. So historically, the PTA has hosted a series of summer play dates on the Watts playground. I guess the last one was probably in summer of 2019. We obviously didn't do it last year. And it's generally fallen under family involvement. And I think in the past, if I'm remembering correctly, if anyone has a better memory than I do, please interject. But the PTA has provided drinks and snacks and facilitated like a book swap, and just made it an opportunity for new families to meet and for older families to reconnect and for older families to meet new families and all that good stuff. Really nice kind of social event to, build community. So it seems like that's something that we could try to resurrect for this year with some modifications. We could do it with everyone just bringing their own water bottles and snacks. We could do it without the book swap, though I did contact Book Harvest about possibly donating new books, which is a possibility if we want to keep the book element in it. And I looked at when the dates were, the June, so 1 in June, 1 July, 1 August, when those dates have been historically, and it kind of would make sense for the dates, if we went ahead with this, to be June 19th. These are all Saturdays, early-ish, so to avoid the heat. June 19th, 9:30 to 11:30, same time on July 24th, and same time on August 21st, if we wanted to go this route. So I guess I just wanted to get feedback from you all, if you think it's a good idea in concept, what the details should be, and then also to see if people are able to attend on those dates, because I have standing conflicts on Saturday mornings. I would probably be able to make it to later, but not at the beginning. And it would be great. And I definitely wouldn't be able to make any August dates. So if we went ahead with this, it would be great to have, if not PTA board representation, at least, people, parents who have been at the school for a little while who can answer questions that any new families might have.
Rachel, could you repeat the dates and the time?
Sure. So what I'm proposing, these are not set in stone. I haven't sent anything out yet, but what I'm proposing is June 19th. This is Saturday. It would be 9:30 to 11:30 is the time that's been in the past. So June 19th, Saturday, June 19th, Saturday, July 24th, and Saturday, August 21st. I actually don't have a calendar in front of me. So if I'm getting those dates, if those dates aren't Saturdays, please let me know. But I think they gel.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering from anybody on staff at the school if there are any consequences, like what DPS will allow, that's the only thing I can think of.
So I think in the past we didn't ask DPS about these dates because we're not using the bathrooms, we're not going in the school, we're just using the playground, and the playground is technically fair game to any group. So even in the past, I think we just hosted them. But I will say, I think maybe August 21st should become August 14th, only because the 21st is 2 days before the start of school. And so I know that at that point, there'll probably be like some grounds things being done. That's probably like when stuff starts happening and things start getting put in place. And I don't know how school is going to go handle like open house this next year.
Right.
I do know open house would normally be like the next day.
Right.
It was a traditional year. So maybe like push it a week ahead and do the 14th.
Sounds great.
Yeah, just from a staff perspective, we're just being told that it'll come as time passes and we'll be notified when it is relevant, I suppose. I do not know what their plans for this are. I just know that Watts is not a host site for summer school. So that's the intention. But I think we have to reiterate what Bria was saying. Space can be carrying all year long. So I think that it would be, I hesitate to say fine because I don't work for school, or I don't.
So I'm also having my final parent meeting with Patty on sometime next week. And so I will, before this gets sent out, I will check with her to make sure it's not like a glaring thing that we absolutely can't do, but I don't see an issue if we're not needing to go into the school for any reason. I did say I will be able to be there on June 19th. The other dates, I will not be able to be there. But I think, but yeah, I will make sure that this is okay by administration before we send this out. But I do think it's a good idea to, because there are some parents who have never stepped foot on the school grounds really, or like met other parents, especially like our incoming pre-K, our incoming kindergartners who like maybe didn't have a tie to the school before last year. I know it was a big sibling year this year, but still there's like, there are a couple families who have probably never met other families if they've been virtual all year and what have you. So I think it's a good idea from that perspective, to just have this option. So I will check with Patty and make sure everything's on the up and up. And I do think it needs to be like BYOB, like bring your own water bottles, bring your own snacks. I don't know if they're doing trash service this summer, so it might be also take your trash away, or have like a volunteer to like bring a trash bag if people need it and then like put it in the dumpster. And I think that's about the only concern, is really just finalizing it with Patty and running it by them and not like catching the administration off guard with this.
Sorry, Ambria, when did you say that you'd be having a meeting with
So
her?
I think it's scheduled for June 8th at this point. I need to.
Okay, great.
So-
So I'll wait on hearing back from you before moving forward with anything. And I guess if other folks who are on this call get questions about it, you can let people know that we're moving forward. We're hoping to move forward with things.
And if I see her before that, because I sometimes see her in carpool, I can just ask. And if I get an answer before this, then I'll just give it to you as soon as I talk to her.
Great, thank you.
Welcome. Okay. Well, the next thing is also you, Rachel. If you want to talk about the updates for family involvement that we talked about last week, or anything you want to share with the board regarding that.
Sure. Sorry about the noise. Yeah, I think we've talked about kind of what family involvement has done over the past year, so I won't reiterate all that. But I won't be in this role next year, and I figured it would be a good time, given just like the craziness that this year has been, and the fact that it will be transitioning over to someone else. To be determined, I suppose, that we should kind of take advantage of that and maybe examine the ways that the family involvement role has evolved, and perhaps some of the inefficiencies that maybe can be helped. That's what, so cut me off. I don't know how much time I have, and hopefully I won't take too much time, but from having done this role for a year, I think there are a lot of things that family involvement does that make a lot of sense. I think, hopefully we can get back to Morale Mondays, which for people who are relatively new to the school might not have experienced it, but we didn't do it this year for obvious reasons, but it's been like a monthly, I think, way for parents and families to donate food and make food for teachers as like a way to show teacher and staff support. I think it definitely makes sense for family involvement to be coordinating that in the future if we decide to go that direction. Teacher Appreciation Week, summer play dates, all that stuff that involves, coordinating volunteering and kind of building community. I think that makes a lot of sense. And also the room parent system, where there's a class list that's built at the beginning of the year, and having the family involvement chair kind of support those room parents to keep communication within the class, to support volunteer opportunities for families. I think that all makes a lot of sense. To keep up to date on teacher wish lists, gifts for teachers and IAs, and just general support in the classroom. That makes all kinds of sense. The part that has been frustrating and very time consuming on my end of things, and frustrating because I know that time could be spent doing so many other things for the school and to support PTA activities. The part that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me, and I would hope that as we move forward, maybe we could adapt this system, is the kind of school-wide messaging that's coming from the family involvement chair to room parents. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me and I think we've kind of evolved into this. I think it's been this way for many years, and it just kind of evolved this way without a whole lot of thought, all appreciation to the people who've done this before me, who have done an amazing job. But I think there are just ways that we've evolved into the situation where, if there needs to be a message about a PTA meeting, or about the Black History Month scavenger hunt, or about Teacher Appreciation Week, or anything that's kind of generated from the PTA, and then there's an assumption that it should be sent out to room parents, it's a really inefficient system, and also an inequitable system. And it involves generating an email, and then from whoever on the PTA, or whatever body is kind of creating the event or the meeting or whatever, and then it going to the family involvement chair, and then the family involvement chair relying on a volunteer translator to translate, and then it going back to the family involvement chair, and then that email going to the room parents, and then that email going from the room parents to the class families. And it's just, it takes a lot of time. It feels really inefficient. And also those lists are opt-in lists, so they're not equitable in that there are a lot of people who are not getting all that messaging. So I I just wanted to put that out there as something that I think can be improved upon. If we can figure out a way for PTA messaging to perhaps get funneled through the school, if there's an opportunity to do that through like newsletters or text messages or just like all the communication possibilities that might be available at the school level as opposed to the PTA level. I hate to suggest like adding more to the plate of the administration and staff who are already doing so much. But I also know that if hours are freed up on the parent volunteer end of things, we could do so much more to support our school and teacher and staff community rather than kind of engaging in what I think has just kind of evolved into a really ineffective system. So that's my pitch for whoever ends up taking my role next year to not do it the way I did it. So thanks for listening. Sorry that took a long time. If anyone has thoughts on this, if anyone wants to talk with me about it either in this forum or elsewhere, and try to like brainstorm ways that we can make this a more efficient and more equitable system, I'd appreciate it.
So I think in going with that, the PTA does have a communications crew. Like we didn't really utilize them this year, just because it's normal like to send out things for PTA events, and we didn't really have any events. But I think that we could maybe try to utilize the PTA communications crew more, and they can maybe put together a newsletter, and they can send out to the PTA listserv, and we can ask that Patty also share it in her supposed to be weekly like emails, just so it does get out, because like that one gets pushed to every parent, whereas like the PTA listserv still doesn't. I still kind of wish there was an easier way to get parents onto the PTA listserv, because right now it's literally very opt-in, and a lot of our new parents still don't know about it. I know like they were given my email address at their welcome thing a few weeks ago, but I only had like 3 or 4 parents email me from that, and I know we have more pre-Ks coming in than that aren't siblings and aren't already in the school. So I'm trying to find ways. I would like us to find ways to get more people on the PTA listserv, but also just get PTA information out there. And I think it's really going to have to be from the school end of things, because they're the ones that have access to that information. So I think it might be something to consider to asking the communications team to kind of take on more of that burden to like the emails that they think that really need to go out, to like contact Randy and be like, can you send this out, or can you put it in the Connect Ed message, and also potentially putting together a newsletter of just things that are going on with the PTA so parents know what's happening. And even on our website, our website did not get updated really this year as much as it could have. And I don't think people were really visiting our website. I don't have those statistics. But that's just something to consider, that we do have this whole team of 2 to 3 people who are there to do communication for the PTA, and they just didn't really do anything this year, just because we didn't really ask them to do much.
Yeah, but I also think that the system precedes that. It wasn't just it was exacerbated this year, but the room parent distribution of school-wide emailing system has been around for a long time, even when there was more engagement, I guess, on that level. But yes, I agree with everything.
I would also like to add, I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I would also like to add, I think that there is also some frustration and confusion with the teachers about the room parent role, because like, it's just unclear sometimes who is going to send what. So I wanted to put that out there, because I absolutely think that the school should be responsible for whole school messaging. The other thing I would like to mention is that I think that the most equitable way to disperse information, even if it is just PTA based, is to do it electronically, but also paper. And I realize that there's a cost associated with that and time for making copies, but there is a huge digital divide, everywhere. And it exists at our school. So I really think we need to consider going back to some paper communication as well.
Great, thank you.
If that's all that you have, Rachel, then
Can I say something that's kind of related to that?
sure.
This is Bethany. Sorry. I don't know if it's just me, but I have a really hard time getting the volunteer translators to check translation. And I mean, I understand that they're volunteer and they have jobs and everything. And so I don't know if it's just the way that I'm doing it, but I hardly ever hear back on the first time when I send them the minutes and say, can you check this translation? Maybe it's because I send it to all 6 of them and they all think someone else is going to do it, or maybe they really are all too busy. And I don't know if we have another option besides volunteer translating, just because it holds everything up. Like, I still haven't sent out the minutes from the last membership meeting because I've asked twice now and I haven't gotten anyone to check the translation, which is, I'm sure, also part of the problem with all this trying to send out communication in general and all the translation checks that have to happen. So it's kind of related possibly, because maybe they aren't getting back because they get asked so many times by so many different people. But
I think that's the case.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure. And so I don't know if it'd be better to, like, if we had the translators each like pick one thing to do, like they're, you know, one of them's going to do meeting minutes, one of them's going to do like other types of announcements, so that there's someone dedicated. So I know, like, one-on-one who's going to be checking the translation for me. I don't know. It's just kind of been a problem all year. And now I'm way behind in getting out these minutes.
Bria, what
Yes.
is the translators like reimbursement, for lack of a better word? Like, I mean, is it just completely volunteer? Like,
It's everyone, like everyone on the board. It's they're pretty much like almost like a subset of communication.
Mhm.
Now we can, or you all can, because I won't be here for this next year, decide that this needs to be like someone that we hire, like their service that we hire out. But it's definitely, I looked into that this year, and it's a very pricey service to get like things translated. But it seems it's definitely necessary to, like, because we do have a large Spanish speaking population in the school. So in order for for equity purposes, all of our information really does need to be in English and Spanish, so to not like alienate like a group of parents and not share information with them. But it definitely is, like, even I have trouble getting the translators to translate things. So sometimes you'll see, like, if I've asked and I've asked again, then I'll just send down English and I'll hope that they get back to me so I can do it in Spanish, or sometimes I'll just Google translate it and I'll do a precursory 3 years of Spanish knowledge look at stuff, but like that's not fluent. That's probably like a 2nd grade level of Spanish in an actual like Spanish speaking country. So it's definitely something that needs to be done. It can be done. The PTA can pay for it to be done, but me and Rachel were talking about the fact that, like, if things are sent out through the school, then the school is able to get things translated through DPS. We can't access DPS translators, but the school can. So if we send something to Randy to send out to the school, Randy can have it translated through DPS like translators, but we as a PTA not actually associated with DPS can't. And so we rely on a group of, I think at this point it's like 5 parents to do it, and it's mostly been 2.
Yeah, and I think that if the school-wide messaging translation burden is relieved in some way, that they would have a lot more time and energy to dedicate to the stuff that really does need to come from, you know, the minutes, which obviously like are PTA generated and for PTA purposes.
Any other comments or questions? Next, Sarah wanted to speak about some upcoming grounds things.
Yeah, thanks, Bria. And let me just voice my deep appreciation for your leadership this year. So for the summer, I just want to give you all a heads up. We've got at least two work days planned this weekend. The Betsy program is coming on Saturday to do a work day Saturday morning. Part of the reason we haven't spent all of our grounds budget yet is because we will reimburse Betsy after that work day. And then later in the summer, we're still working out these dates. There will be 1 to 2 work days where part of which we will hire, I think, Tributary to concrete in all of the riprap rocks that serve as structural elements for the rain gardens. We were awarded a grant in partnership with the Trinity Park Neighborhood Association from Duke that will help pay for part of that work. The rest of that work may come out of either our grounds budget, depending on when we can get that scheduled, or it might come out of the Leo Fund. As part of this grant with Trinity Park, we're trying to schedule a work day with the LRB Creek Watershed Association on the playground to do both rain garden education and then rain garden maintenance. And that we're trying to get that scheduled for middle of July. So Rachel, it was really helpful to get your date of July 24th. So we were aiming for earlier than July 24th anyway, but it's good to know to reserve that. So those are at least 2 things that we've got going on, sort of programmatically is not quite the right word, but in terms of work days on the playground. The other update that I wanted to share with you all is that Annie and I had a meeting with Dan Schnitzer, who works in the Office of Capital Improvements. He's, I think, he's sort of the sustainability guy for DPS. We've had other conversations with him, but we had a focused conversation with him last week about the playground and about the maintenance needs and about the fact that DPS at the moment is, completely strapped and really has no resources for grounds maintenance. And Annie and I broached this idea with Dan, telling him that we had been thinking about doing a fundraiser in order to raise money, in order to sort of maintain the rain gardens in the field, because we are experiencing, it's challenging to get sufficient volunteer work, and the parents who have been, really passionate about caring for the playground are starting to age out of the school. And so we're worried about the long-term sustainability of maintaining the playground, especially with DPS's current lack of funding. So part of the reason we had this conversation with Dan is to say, hey, Dan, we're thinking about doing this fundraiser, but while we could do it and just think about our little school, is there a way that we could do it or approach it that might have systemic effects? And what he shared with us was really encouraging to us. And that is, he recommended that we take on a strategy that he saw happen at his work with Orange County Schools. He used to be the sustainability director there, and they had similar issues around stormwater management, that they had put in rain gardens in schools. The school system had not budgeted to care for them, and then sort of the bill came due, and the school system had to figure out what to do in order to manage these systems. And ultimately what happened in Orange County is that they got money from the county commissioners, they got a line item in the budget, and they were able to contract it out. So what Dan told us is what would be great is to think of George Watts as a pilot project. If we could raise money to contract out to care for the rain gardens in the field, say for 2 to 3 years, and sort of document sort of that, sort of how that goes, that he feels confident that by the time 2 or 3 years is completed, that he thinks he can move sort of DPS to including a line item in the budget for caring for these stormwater devices system-wide, and by pointing to sort of this pilot project at DPS that will help him make his case. Ultimately, again, it's a matter of moving, I guess, the county commissioners to funding it. His take on it was that it would, so at the 5,000 foot level, it would be asking for an extra $100,000 or something at the mega budget for all of DPS that he thinks is very achievable. But he thinks that our efforts at Watts, by sort of contracting out this work, might really help make the case, and that we have reason to be optimistic at the end of it that it could be covered by the school system, which is of course like music to our ears, because that's exactly what we thought was supposed to happen in the first place, that it was not up to the PTA to manage it, to fund it, to maintain it, that it was DPS's responsibility. And that, I mean, we were under the understanding that DPS would take care of it. And so when we've learned recently that they can't, that was deeply concerning. So all that is to say that Annie and I right now are in the process of getting bids from landscaping companies to try to then come up with a plan for hiring this work out and serving as a pilot for DPS. We are tentatively thinking, I mean, the number that has come into our heads that we've sort of been operating with is about $10,000. And that's because that's what we were able to fundraise for the playground when we did the playground project 4 years ago. That target might change based on what the bids that come in. I think we'd love to try to raise enough money to cover 3 years, but I think we'd be fine covering 2. So once we have those bid amounts, then we will start to strategize about doing some sort of fundraiser this summer to try to cover those maintenance needs, with the goal of hopefully providing a bridge for these next 2 years when hopefully DPS can take it over. So I just wanted to give you all a heads up about that. Yeah, I'll just pause right now in case folks have any questions or comments.
That sounds great, like great news, Sarah, hopefully. And just from a fundraising perspective, what were you thinking of doing to raise the $10,000 or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think sort of taking the approach that we did before was reaching out to neighbors, especially Trinity Park neighbors, because, I mean, as you know, right, like so many neighbors have used the playground this past year. Also reaching out to alumni through Friends of Watts. I'm trying to avoid, I mean, obviously a lot of neighbors are loyal donors as parents and families of the school, but trying to avoid, dipping into the same pot that, you all rely on for annual fun stuff. But we're of course like open, to other ideas. Yeah. The other thing to say is we've also had a conversation with Karthik and T-Bolt about the solar project. We've had one preliminary conversation about them, and we're open to the idea of doing like a joint fundraiser with them to fund both. We're still early in conversations about that, so that hasn't been rolled out in terms of not joining forces to do it, but we sort of pressed them on some questions about the viability of the solar project. Like we really felt like it's really, I mean, given our experiences with the playground, it's really important for them to find out exactly what the maintenance needs are and expectations are, things of that nature, to make sure that this really is a project that is wise to take on. In part because also, we feel like there've been, I mean, on paper, it does seem like a great project, but once you get into the nitty gritty to think, okay, is this really something that makes sense for the school?
You're talking about the solar project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, given that it's so expensive.
Yeah, I appreciate you getting in those weeds and looking at that.
Yeah.
Bria, that's a question. Have we heard any more? Have we heard any more conversations from the solar program, and like if teachers are on board with it, or if they know about it?
So I'm not sure on what has been communicated to teachers on that front. However, I have had a couple calls from Karthik saying that we're good to go. I think the website may have already been, I think it might have come up today where people can start donating. He was trying in Karthik's mind, he was trying to contact people and get them to pledge money before even the website got up. So like when it did get up, he could just like tell people, okay, it's up now and you can donate. But I don't know where he was at with that. I've kind of always had the hesitancy that that's a lot of money. In addition to like asking parents to raise money for that, and then to raise money for grounds, and then to raise our normal like $25,000 to $30,000 that we raise as a PTA, that's asking parents to like, you know, almost raise essentially $50,000 to $55,000 in one school year. And I know Watts is incredible and Watts can do that, but it's a big ask. It's a huge ask on like only like 100. I think we only have like 180 families or something like that, like, or like maybe 200. So it's, I think it's going to be a tight year if we try to do all three of those things. Just honestly, I think if like something's gonna get hit because of that, like something's gonna kind of get the shortfall of the stick, because parents are not gonna probably want to be funding all three different projects. And they all gonna happen in quick succession, it feels like, because summer and then the annual fund happens in October. Between that and that, it's like 4 months of like just asking parents to give. So that's been my biggest concern with all of that. And I did reiterate the PTA cannot agree to fund the solar project. We can't like say that we'll stand in the gap because we don't know what our budget's going to be like. And we do know our budget's going to be a lot smaller next year than it was this year. So yeah, they seem like the group of parents who put the solar power thing together, great. They did so much work, and I feel bad kind of dissuading them from trying to do that this year, but it also feels like I wish it was something that we could do a different year. Than we didn't need to also figure out the ground situation, and we didn't also really need to have a rebuilding year of the PTA budget because of all of the money we spent almost $50,000 this year as a PTA, just with a lot of it was school reopening and supporting supply days and all of the different ways that we kind of had to pivot. So I know next year is going to be a rebuilding year, so to speak, of the budget, and trying to get it back to where it was pre-pandemic, where we were coming in with like $40,000, not 20. So those are thoughts that I have. I don't know if Amanda or Anna, if you have heard anything about the project from like a teacher perspective, or if the teachers have been asked their opinion on it or anything.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I couldn't get unmuted fast enough. No, from a teacher perspective, we have not. There has not been a lot of discussion about it. Not that I don't think that it's because it's not important to the staff, but there have just been many other things that seem more important from a staff point of view this year. So it has not been a big conversation.
That's completely understandable. I know there's a lot going on, and it kind of got sprung at when there was like 10 days left of school anyway. Yeah, so I don't know what the next step forward is in terms of that, because it's really not our project, in the fact that like we can't say we're just not going to do this because we're not the ones actually raising money for it. But we do know we have two big projects that are probably hoping to raise, between grounds and fundraising, hoping to raise like $35,000 to $40,000 next year. And adding that, whether or not like we recognize parents are going to think that they're all three coming from the PTA, just because that's the nature of parents think everything is kind of coming from the PTA. So it might be a conversation with Karthik and Tebow that someone wants to have, like saying, hey, maybe this isn't something we do, or trying to figure, or maybe it's a conversation where we start like asking businesses, or like we try to really get like people who aren't actually Watts parents to fund these things, not Watts parents. I know if we try to get Watts parents to fund these things, I just worry that it's going to affect the annual fund, which has wide.
That was our concern. That was like a lot of the concerns that the fundraising committee raised with Karthik. And like, I do think he, similarly to you, Sarah is like looking at trying to tap into other funding sources, not Watts families. So I think that that's like a good strategy, but I do still have a lot of concerns about, because there's a lot of overlap, you know. And I think that's also partially why Megan jumped on trying to get this needs assessment up and out, because it just feels hard for us, you know, the small number of people that we are to prioritize these things. Because, you know, solar panels sound great, stormwater sounds important. Like, these are all important things. So how do we choose, right? And so, yeah, I think we've kind of gone around this a little bit, and I think that what would be most helpful is like if we had maybe more clear plans from like what his fundraising strategy is going to be, and if it really is going to be going after like grants or sponsorship from local businesses, because that feels really different than, you know, the annual fund and normal sort of traditional family fundraising. So I mean, I think there is a way it could happen, but we just haven't had much. I mean, I think he doesn't have those plans formulated exactly yet, so it wasn't clear exactly yet.
I am sure that Karthik has probably thought about this, but one possibility I'm thinking of is going to solar panel businesses and asking, you know, hey, would you guys help fund this? And we'll put a sign on the playground that says, you know, sponsored by blah, 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 whatever company. It would be great advertisement for them. I don't know, just a thought for Karthik, and I can email him that.
Yeah, it would be, I mean, it would be great if like if we could just, if a lot of the stuff we needed funded could be corporately funded. I know we're able to put signs on the playground with sponsorships, like that's like, we don't have anything against that. So even grounds, if there are like some nurseries or whatever that want to sponsor some ground stuff, that would be great, like some creative fundraising, so to speak.
Yeah, I just want to speak quickly in support of that, because we didn't do a very effective job of reaching out to sponsors last year because it was so crazy with the pandemic hitting, right? We usually ask them to sponsor the carnival, and we can usually get $3,000 to $4,000 in sponsorship for the carnival, but we didn't really do that in 2020. And then this year I made a quick and simple ask, and like within 2 days raised $1,000 to help with Teacher Appreciation Week, just from 2 sponsors that each gave $500. So like, I think that there is probably just a great option. So Sarah, that might be something that I'd be happy to show you who's given to us in the past from the local community, but they haven't been specifically like grounds related, but they still might be interested in the effort. And we haven't really done much in the last 2 years. So
yeah, and before we do any fundraising, we will absolutely talk to you and Megan and Sean, just to make sure that we're not competing, or to try to be strategic about it, so we're not double dipping. Try to be as coordinated as possible. We have thought, and again, we're trying to get these bids for the work on the grounds, and we've had these preliminary conversations with Karthik. We have thought like that there might be a way to do like a STEM education fundraiser for the playground, that could really highlight outdoor education, outdoor learning, in a thoughtful way. And we just haven't gotten there yet, because I think we're still gathering information, but we do take very seriously not double dipping and jeopardizing the annual fund.
I love that idea. I think if you market it that way, that would be awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, even one idea has gone so far as thinking about, and again, this is so preliminary, but is there a way to construct the solar panels like on a pergola, such that it could serve as like a shade structure for even more like outdoor class space? So that could even be like, a triple win. Like you get the panels, you have like a shade structure for outdoor learning. Anyway, so again, we're in the very beginning stages of thinking about that, but trying to be sort of creative and really value added for what this fundraising project could be.
Thanks, Sarah. If anything else comes up, you can just email the board, or if you have any, or if anyone has any other ideas for fundraising, please email Sarah. I know, Sarah, you are staying on next year on the board, so she will be around all summer. And you also know that Grounds always has that, that we work into the budget for things that need to be done by Grounds, a summer fund. So.
Hey, could I just say one more thing? And last thing, and that is, if folks have any comments about the DPS Foundation grant that we were awarded for the picnic tables and for the stump and log seating on the playgrounds, if you all have any comments that you could share with me that I could put in the grant report, I would greatly appreciate it, because I'm in the process of turning in the grant report now, and they sort of want to know what's the impact or how was this received. I'm obviously going to reach out to Patty for some of that information, but if y'all have anything to share about what the funds, how the funds got spent on the picnic tables and the new stump and log elements, that would help me out. Thanks.
Thank you. 1 second. Okay. The next thing I want to do is introduce Jamie. Jamie, are you still on the call? I see your name, but
yep, I'm here. I'm at the airport, so that's the background noise, but I'm here, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to give you a chance to say hi and introduce you to the board, as you will be taking over in 30 days.
So hi, everyone. I think I know most folks on the call. For those of you I don't know, nice to meet you. And for those who are leaving, thanks for all you've done. And this was actually a really helpful meeting to be able to listen in on and get a sense of where some of the challenges and opportunities are going to be. So I appreciate the accurate and candid conversations that are going on. And I expect I'll probably be sending a couple follow-on notes to folks who are departing to get a bit more insight and background on some of the things you've raised. So I hope that's okay. And for those who are going to be sticking around, I'll probably be reaching out to you as well in the near term, but if you want to reach out to me and beat me to it, by all means, I'm here and around. So looking forward to working with everyone. And yeah, thanks for having me along tonight.
Thanks, Jamie. So me and Jamie actually had a really productive conversation on Friday. We had a meeting at awesome coffee place, Gojo. You should go visit if you haven't been there. But we trying to make this transition as smooth as possible. So if you decide, if you know that, I know I have like a list of people who are not going to be on the board next year, but if you decide between now and June 30th that you are not going to continue in your role, please let me and Jamie know, just so like he can better plan for next year. And I can give ideas if there are people I think would be could be suited for this role. The PTA board year ends June 30th at 11:59. So as soon as July 1st comes, Jamie will take over. Tebow will become the new vice president. Josh will be the new treasurer. So anything after that point that you have questions about, if you're remaining on the board, we'll go through them. Which is why it's important that all Teddy's term ends June 30th, which means that it's important that all fundraising and budget requests and things get done preferably like at least 10 days before June 30th, just so like reconciliation can happen and they and everything can be turned over properly. I know we don't have a lot of the chairs filled for next year. I do think it's important that before June 30th, we find a family involvement chair. That's kind of one of the big ones. I think we're missing an African American parents chair, which PAC next year is going to kind of be absolved by EK Poe. So our PAC is going to meet with EK Poe's PAC just because there aren't a lot of African American parents at Watts, just the nature of how the school goes. And because Joanna Sticks stepping down. And so EKPO has been super generous enough to like offer to also lead Watts's pack. And I think it'll be good for community building in that sense that like we get to partner with another school. We do not have an EC chair. Bob Pleasance is stepping down. And so, but that should really be someone whose children are in the EC program. That feels like a requirement to be the EC chair. Latino Families Chair is one of those chairs that we always have a hard time filling. And so I think that would be important. And then Sarah Martin is working to see if anyone who's currently on SIT would like to be the SIT liaison for the PTA, since Megan Pollard also stepped down this year. But yes, I think family involvement is the one that should probably be filled. So if you know someone who'd be really great at family involvement, who wants to do it, have them reach out to Rachel or me or Jamie, someone on the board, so they can point them in the right direction so that we can get things done, because family involvement does pretty much start off running as soon as the school year begins. And sorry, 1 second. And I think that is it. I think I think in the coming days, either me or Jamie will kind of begin setting up the 2021-22 PTA board drive. And so if there are certain documents that you think need to be, so once that gets sent out, you can kind of start transferring over your own committee's data over. If there are certain things that you think is necessary for your for future boards to know, any type of documentation, that would be a good place for it to live, just so that we have a reference. If anything ever happened, like all of a sudden, like you left the school or anything like that, it's just a good place to keep information so that we have it and we don't lose it, and we still kind of know what to do. And I think that's it. I don't really have anything else that we need to talk about. I don't think I'm missing anything. So does anyone else have anything to add before we head out? No? Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for this year. It's been a crazy year, but it's been a good one, and we've done a lot of good work. And so I just appreciate all of you and for all that you've done. So thank you.
Thank you, Bria.
Thank you, Bria. You did it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bria.
Thanks, Bria.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I told Megan, my friend sent me this shirt today to wear today, because my best friend was like, you're done, and I was like, yep, we've got through it. So it's been bittersweet, but I had so much fun getting to know all of you, and so thank you all so much, just for making my second year at Watts super awesome. And I still have 6 more years at the school, so I'm sure I'll like see all of you around and maybe pop back up on the board one day. Don't know. Thank you. Have a
Thanks,
great
Bria.
summer.
Bye.
Thanks all. Take care.